Welcome back to Fintech Live London. Today with me, I have three of our fantastic speakers. We have Nicole Green, product strategy for Yaply, and we also have Castro Feijoo of the Open Banking Trust, and Roland Mesters, who is, of course, CEO and co-founder of Nordigan. Thank you for joining us. I really just wanted to have a chat with you today about your panel discussion in terms of open banking and everything that's happening in that space right now. And with particular reference really to the use cases that are available now, especially considering that we're in a cost of living crisis. So, Connie, would you be able to just kind of give me a few pointers on that, please?
Yes, just a mini correction there. I'm from the open banking implementation entity.
Okay, sorry.
No, never mind.
Okay.
And for the OBIE, our main goal is actually to enable banks and fintechs to drive a competition, to improve customers' choice, to bring benefits, especially for businesses and consumers. So there are a couple of things which are especially relevant during the cost living crisis. We were just discussing in the panel about how open banking technology is being used to assess someone's affordability to pay. So, for example, utility companies are using open banking to potentially tell you if you're eligible to a social tariff or get repayment plans that you can commit to and you can pay. There are other companies using, again, this data to tell you if you're eligible to a social tariff for your broadband or lots of different things. And if we think about small businesses, again, open banking goal is here to support and help small businesses be more productive, profitable, and resilient. And especially during this crisis, I feel there are lots of different use cases in terms of getting paid faster, quicker, cheaper, accessing or borrowing funds in a more effective way. Again, in terms of like accessing those funds, we know from some of the fintechs have enabled funds for a small business in the minute those funds were requested until they were settled in the bank. It took just 18 minutes, the whole process. So that for a small business in this crisis, it's key.
Okay. And Nicole, what's your take on this at the moment?
I think Connie covered a lot of things there. I was just like, oh, what else is there? I think in terms of use cases, I think one you kind of touched on a little bit is obviously in the personal financial management side of things. So as I mentioned in the panel, Yaply's recently done a cost of living survey, and we were asking consumers about what kinds of tools and services they were using to help them better to manage their finances. And we see a lot of things around budgeting. And so, you know, using open banking to consolidate all your accounts, get a view of how you're spending money, help you understand if you need to cancel subscriptions and save money, and all those kinds of services as well is another use case that I'd bring up.
Okay. And Rolands, what's your position on this? Because obviously as a sort of provider of services, you must have a slightly different take on things.
Yeah, absolutely. So Nordigan is Europe's only freemium open banking platform. So what we have is a lot of developers who come to us to build their first MVP, the most sort of the minimum viable product. And well, we see a lot of innovation, and that kind of like it's a bit of like a glimpse of what we could expect to see in the future. Some of the examples that I'm personally very excited about is what you can do with open banking data in the loyalty space. So if you're able to replace your card-linked marketing with that is kind of open banking linked, so that's very exciting. I'm very excited to see what innovations are possible in the tax space. By replacing the fact that you need to sort of mail your bank statement to your accountant on a monthly basis, you can connect your bank account to an accountant software, and you can streamline that data, and your accountant actually has a real-time view of your situation, which just gives a lot more room for new innovation to come out. And then of course, like there's lots of things still that need to be solved in the credit assessment space. We see that in Europe we have like 30 countries, and you can sort of move from one country to another but your credit history is basically stuck in your country where you were born, and so people are losing their credit histories constantly. People are thin file constantly wherever they go. So this is another issue that open banking could easily solve. So those are the things that I'm very excited about. But definitely agree. The colleagues here have covered some of the other use cases. They're definitely very, very important for the ecosystem.
So we also live in a very sort of cyber vulnerable world right now, and it does obviously seem to be getting worse. Are there any vulnerabilities that are opened up as a result of open banking, and what can providers do, I suppose, to help circumvent that? Is that a question for you, Nicole, or do we pass that one along? Okay.
I mean, so Yapily only works with APIs in terms of our connectivity into banks. And so, you're punching a hole to somebody's infrastructure and exporting data. So you've always got to kind of think about that. But I think, obviously, I think it behooves nobody for personal information and data to be lost or to have security vulnerabilities. So I think, everybody's very conscious within this ecosystem that we need to provide as much security as possible around this kind of stuff. Also, everybody in this ecosystem is also regulated to an extent. And so from that standpoint, there is these kind of measures in place to make sure that we're keeping people's information safe. Would you like to add anything, anybody?
I can add something there. So I feel it's important to highlight that no new vectors of fraud. So open banking haven't incorporated any new vector of fraud. And actually, it's a more secure way to interact because you're never inputting any of your credentials, no, any data. You're not. Before you, for example, you used to, I don't know, either your card number or your account number or name or address or whatever. Here, open banking, it's never going to ask you to input any credential. First of all, data is, of course, encrypted. It's decentralized. And all the parties that are participating in the ecosystem are regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. It's not that a party can come and request you as a consumer to consent to give their data and potentially request your data to the bank. All the players in the ecosystem are regulated. So I feel that's important to highlight.
Roland, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I just want to highlight what Connie said is that, we used to have a system where we were mailing bank statements to our accountants, and then now we can literally replace that through secure communication lines that are actually encrypted. And we used to, and we still do in a lot of cases, type in our sort of card details into online forms. With open banking, you can avoid sharing anything, and you're able to transfer money from one bank account to another securely without sharing anything about yourself or the access credentials to your assets. So yeah, there's lots of benefits, and that's why we're so excited about open banking. It just removes a lot of the friction that we've seen in the real world today.
Many things come into my mind. So we were talking with Just Giving, the platform that supports charities to fundraise online, and they were telling us how they sell this payment option to the charities is mainly highlighting the security that this open banking, that this type of payment enabled for the charity. And what they found is that on average a donation was £30, and when done via open banking, this donation increases to £50.
Wow. Okay, so there's great demand there as well, so it's good for business. So looking forward to the year ahead and into 2024, what changes are we going to see in the space? Rolands, want to kick us off with that one?
So I can talk from the ecosystem point of view. The stuff that we think is going to happen next year is, well, definitely more adoption of open banking. That is clear. We already see a really healthy growth curve, and the growth can only accelerate because the technology has proved itself to be valuable. But then, of course, now that we're running into this bit of like an economic turbulence of sorts, this creates a new environment in which a fintech can build new value for the consumer. And we're very likely to see new solutions come out of this. And whenever there's limitations and sort of the environment is changing rapidly, we're also seeing the most innovative companies do amazing things. So yeah, I think I'm very, very excited about what is to come, the level of innovation, and the adoption is also very, very healthy. So that's kind of next year looks very exciting in that regard.
All of what he said. Also, we touched on this in the panel a little bit, but now we're starting to see the growth of or the launch of variable recurring payments in the UK. And what's interesting about that is what was mandated was sweeping VRP, but there is also a case for non-sweeping. So sweeping is me-to-me accounts, and non-sweeping is obviously an account that is moving money from your account to an account that is not one of yours. So with that, what we're actually seeing, NatWest has announced that they are actually making these available as a premium API. And we expect to see other banks starting to throw their hat into the ring in terms of launching more of these types of products. So we definitely think that the sweeping use case for VRP is going to grow next year. We also think that there's going to be more and more banks launching non-sweeping VRP as a product, and we're really excited about the new use cases that will open.
And from the OBA perspective, what we are looking forward is for the UK, to keep the momentum. We've led in the implementation of open banking, and we hope that everything that has all the infrastructure that was created and delivered for open banking, it's leveraged, and there's harmonization. There's a harmonized transition actually into open finance, and what's next. So yes.
That's great. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining me today for a quick chat and an overview of the panel discussion. That's all we've got time for this particular segment. So thank you very much, and we'll be back with more guests shortly.